Welcome to the after party. Welcome to the after party. Did you bring some snacks and treats? I hope you got me something to eat. Welcome to the after party. Coming to the after party. I've been waiting here all day to act like a fool this way. Welcome to the after party. Join us in the after party. Oh, chocolate and dabbing, maybe some microphone grabbing at the after party.
It goes on for a minute there at the
with
for a minute there.
DJ Eric.
With DJ Eric, the DC TV show and Tactless Rhyme. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's After Party. I am joined by Ben, the DC TV show. We had a fantastic stream on his channel yesterday, so make sure you go and check it out. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of chalking and dabbing, all kinds of fun stuff. And for the first time ever on the After Party, we have, you might have seen him from the Content Creator Binge Battle from a couple weeks ago, episode 2. It is Buddy from the Tactless Rhyme channel, who covers a lot of the shows that we talk about. You even cover stuff that we don't usually talk about, which is a lot of anime and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I do.
So welcome to the show. He's been very active in the chat the last couple times we've been live, so you guys probably have seen his name pop up. So yeah, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. So we have a few topics today. We're gonna mention those first, and then we'll just kind of chat for a moment. The 3 topics we have is we're going to talk about shipping in the Arrowverse, so that should be a really exciting conversation there. We're going to talk about the effects it has on the community and just our general opinions on it. Then we're also going to do viewer questions. So if you guys had questions that you asked, don't ask now, it's too late. If you ask, they're in the comment section over in the community tab. We were going to talk about some of those. And then we're going to talk about Armageddon 3 and pictures that just came out from Armageddon 4. I think they just came out like a couple hours ago is when I saw them. So it took a while. They normally drop like pretty quickly after 3 airs, but this was like
they were trying to hide it.
Right? So I think so. They were definitely trying to hide it. So anyway, so Ben, how has your week been? Let's catch up with you for a moment. What have you been doing? What's been going on in your world? Anything exciting or Oh, nothing. Okay, so Buddy, just kidding, Ben. Go ahead.
Wow, Eric.
Wow, right off the bat.
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah,
so no, like what's been going on? Have you seen any good movies? Like what's happening?
Yeah, I just saw a really good film just now. I came back. It's a new film with Bradley Cooper. It's called Nightmare Alley.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's fucking great. Oh, sorry.
Is it? Yeah.
I read
there we go. There we go. Like
tired.
even without Paige here, we're getting demonetized. So there we go.
So I'm good then.
Yeah.
So if I let one loose, I wasn't first. It's okay.
You're good. Don't worry. It happened.
So
yeah,
was it
so
a early movie or is it out now? Like is that an indie film?
Yeah, no, it's not out for a while. So yeah, Nightmare Alley by Guillermo del Toro. Maybe.
Ooh, I love his work.
Okay.
So,
yeah, well, see, it's he's one of the best directors, and man, this film is like I'm like speechless about it. But that comes out in a while. Well, I really liked The Flash this week. Fun story with The Flash. I stayed up in the evening to watch it. Obviously, it comes out at 1 a.m. UK time.
Okay.
I stayed up. It was like 12. I was like, oh, I have some time. I took a nap, and dude, I slept till 3. I totally botched it, and so yeah, I slept through The Flash.
Wow!
But then
I can't believe you do such a thing.
Wow!
How could it happen?
I know.
I
woke up and I was like, damn.
Okay, so let's move over to Buddy. So it's your first time on the After Party. We did the Content Creator Binge Battle. We had a lot of fun over there. We talked about Leanne Yu, which is a great episode of Arrow.
Great episode.
And oddly enough, we did the Arrow, the binge battle there. And so now Eric Wallace is coming out and saying, before we watch the final episode of Armageddon, we should go back and watch the backdoor pilot for Green Arrow and the Canaries.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Like, so are you planning on going back and watching that, or?
I feel like the meme answer I should say is no, but you know what? I think I might. I think just to be that outlier, I may actually give it a chance. And maybe because I wasn't doing reviews at the time for Arrow season 8, maybe I should just review that episode, really best episode of the season, give it a fair shot.
Okay.
I probably will.
We said that we would, Eric, didn't we? We said
You know what? I might actually. So should we do like a watch party for that? Like come together and like all watch it together.
Yeah,
that'd be wonderful.
Let us know in the chat. Would you like a watch party for the Green Arrows backdoor pilot? Because I think that would be absolutely hilarious if we did that. All right, before we move into our first topic, we have a super chat here from Multi-Topic Talk, $5 super chat. Just finished season 1 and 2 of Stargirl. That was amazing TV. Any idea of when in 2022 we'll get season 3? Any theories about what we will get? So I don't think I have personally seen an actual release date for the next season of Stargirl, because it's still relatively early in that cycle. But I love Stargirl season 1 and 2. I actually like season 2 better than season 1, but I know some people said they like season 1 better.
I'm right there with you.
What do you think? I know, Ben, you haven't watched season 2, right? You haven't seen any of season 2?
I've watched like multiple episodes, but I need to finish it still.
Okay. So, but I mean, based on somebody who's only watched a little bit of it, do you think the quality is there? Did you really enjoy it?
Oh, yeah. No, I love season 1. And like it started really strong with season 2. And I guess it's going to keep it up, I think. But yeah, Stargirl is always really good. And in terms of when season 3 comes out, is that what they're asking? Any idea? Yeah, I don't know. Probably the same as this year.
Well, they did summer school this past year because they were doing the thing with COVID, so they had to release it at a different time.
I'm going to say it's going to be October next year.
So you think it's going to go back into a fall show then?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. What about you, with your thoughts on this, buddy?
I mean, I loved Stargirl season 2, so for me, I'd love it if it came out in January or as soon as possible. For me, I mean, I'd be fine with maybe like a summer again, just because I think it's hilarious for it to be a summer. Every time Stargirl season 2 was summer school, I just always waited for it. So I don't know, what's the perfect season for frenemies? What's the best season, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's the best weather for that? I don't know.
I mean,
I'm hoping for a before summer, but if October's what I get, that's okay.
I just feel like so the thing was, we've had such a packed year of TV in terms of like shows, so they could drop it at any time, so I'm not too pressed about it. But yeah, if we have to wait till October, we have to wait till October. That's fine. All right. So as always, if you guys have any more questions about anything at all, please super chat, because we're going to move into the first topic, which we're going to go through this, and then we are going to get to the Flash because we want to talk about those photos. There's some amazing photos from the next episode that I think we should definitely dive into. But let's talk about this first thing. And this was something that I think I don't know. I thought a little bit about going in on it on Twitter, and then I'm like, no, this would be a good topic for the after party. And that's like shipping in the Arrowverse and like all the different ships we have. The bigger ones are like Olicity, Caramel, Westallen, and then there's a lot of the smaller ones. We have the new one over on Batwoman, because we have Ryan and Sophie now, and there's just a lot of ships that seem to be prevalent on the shows. And for me as a viewer, I don't tune in for the ships. Like I see them, and of course some of them I'm like, oh, those are kind of cool, but I don't really tune in for it. But there's an entire group of the fandom that really just watches for the shipping. And so my theory on this is that I think the shows do them for a couple of reasons. I think the primary one is that shipping breeds loyalty, and loyalty brings in consistent viewers. And the other thing is it also brings in easily manufactured drama for the shows. Shipping is easily manufactured drama. So Ben, we'll get to you in a second, but buddy, what is your initial thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on ships in general?
I'm not gonna lie. A part of it's fun. Early Arrow season 2. I was like a big fan of Oliver and Felicity. I'm like, what if these two got together and it wasn't like a Black Canary kind of thing? What if that isn't the end game? That idea back then was fun. But now it's like, you get season 4 of Arrow, season 4 of Flash, and it's just like, why did everybody just attack each other online for it? On top of that, I understand, the fandom. I understand they want a certain thing, but like when it just brings down the show as a whole, when you see all online is just negative, it's nothing positive. It's, promotion's promotion, whether it's good or bad, or whether it's toxic or not. But it's just, it's disappointing whenever a show loses its identity into a ship. I've been kind of memeing on Batwoman season 3 of how they're flip-flopping the ships now, especially after that mid-season finale. But it's kind of lost its fun, I'd say. It's like the fun is like the mystery of like will they, won't they kind of thing is interesting sometimes. But I think especially now, it's just not as fun. It's very disappointing and a lot more toxic than I thought.
Well, I will say that I think the will they, won't they scenario, sometimes like on Lucifer, it goes on for a really long time and people get annoyed with it. And then other people hate it when it actually happens. So, Ben, what are your thoughts on shipping in general with the shows? Are you, because I know that you are heavily invested in Caramel, or you were heavily invested in Caramel. So, what are your thoughts on this and like shipping? Do you like the chase or do you like the reward? Like, what do you prefer with the ships? Do you like when they're more nuanced about it, or do you want them to just be together and they're kissing and they're cuddling and they're talking about having kids? What do you like about that?
I'm not, I don't know if I can like entirely crack it down, but yeah, like obviously it's pretty well known. Like I'm a big fan of Mon-El and Kara from Supergirl. That was, I would say back then, maybe a big reason for me watching week to week was kind of watching them. So I kind of understand where all the ship has come from. I feel less like that now. I don't know why, but I guess you just change over the years. But I don't know. Like, there's just something about shipping. I think that I understand it. Like, you're rooting for these characters. You really like these characters. So, of course, you're going to want to be supportive. And then I think the whole shipping argument thing comes in because people are so vocal online. They're like, okay, I love Westallen. Yeah. And then the Snowberry people are like, no, but I love Snowberry, and this should be the real thing. And they think they're right.
That's a good point.
That's where the arguments come in, because it's the same with, obviously I'm more involved with like the caramel thing with like Supercorp, so Lena and Supergirl, and it's exactly the same. Basically every person, or most people, obviously it's a generalization, but like most people who like Supercorp hate Caramel, right?
Right.
Because they are blocking them from happening, right?
Right.
And so that's where you kind of get like this toxicity towards these other characters, because Mon-El is blocking Lena from being with Kara. Yeah. So Mon-El's a terrible character instantly.
That's
because they're blocking your desire. So that's kind of like.
So that's a good segue. While we're talking about this next portion, though, I want the chat to drop like their favorite ship. If you have a ship on the show that you really like, I want you to hashtag it in the chat and let us know which one you support, because I am curious to see what kind of like shipping fans we have here in the chat. So yeah, you make a good point, and this is kind of where the topic came up. So with the Flash this season, I'm very much enjoying the journey of Iris, and this is something that I haven't really enjoyed in a long time. I think Iris has been sort of shortchanged a bit in the writing department. And so I feel like we're getting a payoff this season, and I think it's very warranted. I've never had an issue with Candace Patton. I've never had an issue with Iris as a character or Iris's relationship with Barry. That's never been something that has bothered me. So I made a positive tweet about Iris's story this season, which, by the way, isn't about Westallen. And it's certainly not about her relationship with Barry, because she has her own independent story. And so that is just Iris as a character, completely solo and separate from Barry. I think her story has been very good this season. We'll talk more about that when we get into the episode of The Flash. But some of the replies to that were people in the Snowberry fandom who were mad at me for supporting Iris as a character, which had nothing to do with the Westallen relationship. But Ben, you made a good point. You said they see that character as sort of a gatekeeper for the relationship that they want to have on the show.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they don't realize that whether that character existed or not, the writers may not want to put certain characters together. They just don't see them as together within a story. And so having that character on the show doesn't necessarily mean that existence prevents another relationship from happening. And so my question to the person, there was a couple of people that responded to me. One of the questions were, if you don't like the Westallen relationship and you are a shipper of Snowberry, why do you care if Iris independently has a strong story? Because that has nothing to do with the relationship aspect of it. And the responses are always like, they're very like pointed because they want me to give, like, the answers are like, why do you like her as a character and things like that. And it's like, it's always very pointed because I could give a very thought out answer. Like, this is why I like Iris this season, like blah, 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 with all my points. Cause I know exactly what they are, but they don't want to hear a convincing argument for why Iris is a good character. They want to have me spend time answering so they can rebuttal with a, well, nobody likes her anyway, or she's just a bad character or whatever. It's always that. And so I think that breeds into toxicity. And so, buddy, I want to jump to you quickly here and ask you, have you experienced those kinds of comments in your reviews or in your interactions on social media, whether it be on Twitter or Instagram or Tumblr or wherever because Tumblr is where fandoms like they that's where all the shipping really starts, is over on Tumblr. It used to anyway. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm going to tell you just right out the gate, I don't get that many comments about the ships unless I put them in the title or thumbnail, basically. If you look back at the reviews that have the most views and they have reference to like, no real spoilers for Legends, but like stuff with like Ava Lance or something like that, because I still review Legends. That's where I get those comments the most. And I enjoy Ava Lance, but I'm not like someone who's like freaking out every week for all those scenes. I've never had somebody like get on me for it, maybe except for Batwoman this season when I was like, oh, how do you guys feel now that we've flip-flopped? You know, maybe now there's a Mary and Alice thing going on instead of Mary and Luke. What do you guys think about that? You know, that's basically the only time as of late that I've gotten any mentions of shipping down in the comments. But so far, no real toxicity yet. So let's try to keep it that way.
So moving over to you, Ben, with all of this. So do you think it is, like, in your opinion, do you think it's like the shipping community is inherently going to argue because there's always going to be opposing ships on shows? Or do you think that it's just very specific instances? Like, do you think, because my question really is with the whole toxicity of the fandom is there a way for shipping groups to coexist without being toxic with each other? And I don't see that there is a way, but I'm curious if you think there is a way for that to happen.
Yeah. No, I don't think there is. Because, like I said, and like you said, it's very kind of like one-minded. Like, I don't know. Again, the example of Kara and Mon-El, and then Kara and Lena. You can like Lena, but you can't express that online, can you? Because then you're going to be betraying Caramel. Or if you say, oh, you know, I like Mon-El, but I'm a Supercorp fan. You know, that's terrible, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think that they can kind of coexist together. But like you said earlier, the whole point of creating relationships and, you know, creating a sort of fandom like this is very important to these shows and to shows in general. Like, even if you go back as far as something like oh my god, why am I blanking? The X-Files, or something like that. They had like, they had super big like online chatter and stuff. Like, even when, like, you know, it's like the 90s and shit. Like, it's not like today. You know, it's not Twitter or anything, but
it wasn't instant. Back there on the internet, it didn't trend like today. There's trending, which is completely different.
But like, even back then, people were writing about this, and what they call it is, it's a cult. It's like basically these shows breed cults, and like in real life with cults, you have different cults, and they can't really coexist together. They have different rules. They have different things that they kind of live by, and in this case it's a cult but for a TV show for different characters, and there is no way that they can kind of cross over unless maybe someone becomes less attached. Like, say me, I'm attached to Kara and Mon-El, but at the same time I don't dislike Lena just because you know,
you are a rare one, because that typically doesn't happen.
So
that's buddy, you looked like you wanted to respond to that. Did you have anything?
I just didn't want to interrupt. I didn't want to interrupt Ben, but I think you just pitched a perfect Netflix documentary. We need to see the cult of the Arrowverse, You know,
Yeah.
we need to learn about this. I think an 8-part series. Each one's a different episode about shipping. I think it would be incredible.
It would be incredible.
It was like an epiphany in my mind. I was like, oh, that's genius.
You know what?
Brilliant.
I'm waiting because I think this would be a great thing. Like if they decided, you know what would screw up the shippers completely would be if they decided they wanted to be super progressive and they injected a polyamorous relationship on shows. Like someone in a relationship that had like multiple partners. Because here's the thing, it's a lot more common in real life than people know now. I mean, I see it all the time that people are in these polyamorous relationships. And so if they introduce that on the shows, the shipping community would explode probably at that point.
Yeah.
And
imagine if it was Barry, Iris, and Caitlin.
Oh, there we go.
Oh man.
There we go. What would this is okay. I'm probably gonna get attacked for this one, but what if they made it so that Iris was the connecting polyamorous partner, so she's the one that approached Caitlin about a polyamorous relationship? That would blow people's minds, right?
I mean, Caitlin said she wants to get out there.
That's true.
Right? They had like a line where she's
and
like,
then,
"I'm ready to move on."
What if they add Killer Frost in? So they have Caitlin and Killer Frost, and it's just like this. Okay, let's move on to this question. I don't even want to go for all that. So, all right, so Gamer Man here with the $5 super chat goes, I think Smallville did a great job with Clark and Lois as they waited till season 9 for them to finally get together and waited till Lana was off the show. So did either of you watch? I don't think you watched Smallville. Did you, Ben?
Just bits.
Okay, what about you, buddy? Were you a Smallville watcher?
Basically, episodes that had Oliver in it, I checked out.
Right. Okay. Well, I watched almost all of the series. I think I've only missed a few episodes here and there. And I agree with this. I think this was a really strong way to handle it. You know, another show that I think did a good job of balancing relationships was Supernatural, because they did a lot of they tested the waters with a lot of different characters. And they didn't tie any of the guys down too long with any particular person. I know in the earlier seasons, there was like this love story that kind of carried over for like 4 seasons. But, you know, I actually like, one of the things I liked about Supergirl was that they ended the show without any tie down for Kara, because they kind of left it open-ended. And I think they did that in their mind, you know, to allow fans to just decide where they wanted her to go in terms of
where she goes next.
Yeah. And my last point before we move on to viewer questions and talk about The Flash is, and either of you can answer on this, do you think that the writers and the showrunners and the creative team behind the shows are aware of just how toxic and competitive the shipping community is? And if they are, do you think they bear responsibility for sort of creating some of this? Do you think that's the case? And either of you can answer that, whichever way you want to go.
I mean, if let's just say it's an episode that is fully revolved around a ship, I'd say yes, 100% the writer is responsible for any of that, at least a bit, because that's the only point of the episode, then sure. But I think there's a possibility that not every writer knows. I think there is a possibility there, but I feel like at least a showrunner would, and there would be some mention of it somewhere. But if it's not just one episode or like a couple episodes specifically targeted to just the ship kind of story, I'd say no, but it has to be in the back of the mind somewhere, at least. Right. Or if maybe ratings are dipping or whatever it may be. I don't know. Maybe. That could be it.
What about you, Ben? Any thoughts on that? Do you think the showrunners bear some responsibility for creating this environment, or no?
Yeah, I think in some way, I think they're definitely conscious about the fandom. Like, I think, you know, a lot of showrunners and stuff don't really acknowledge the fans that much.
Right.
So we're kind of not told like, oh yeah, we're trying to do this. But, you know, occasionally like Eric Wallace comes out and says something about Iris, which triggers a whole bunch of people.
It does. I mean,
like Iris is going to do this, and it's going to be a strain on relationship.
Which honestly has nothing to do with Westallen. That's the thing, is it's just about Iris, and that's kind of the thing. Before we move on to the next topic, Paigey did drop in, and I was saving this until we got done. He says, Ben is a fucking simp. LLLLLL. And I'm not going to pull that up on screen because I think that would probably add to the demonetization. But thank you for that insight, Paigey. It's good to know you're still here in the chat, prepared to let Ben.
He is right, yeah.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels good being called the Pagey variant with my webcam. So I appreciate that.
Anthony or the $2 super chat. WB will never good reverse slash suit like the see. Are you talking about the film? So Anthony here is saying that he doesn't think the movies will be able to do a good reverse flash suit like the CW. And boy, if you haven't seen it yet, Anthony, wait till we get to the end of this stream. Because if you like that original reverse flash suit, you're not going to believe what they released today in beautiful, glorious high definition, because I am so excited to talk about that. But thank you so much for the super chat. All right, before we get into the Flash, let's go over our viewer questions. Now, these are questions from the community tab. If you would like to ask or submit a question to be asked to the chat here, to the guest, make sure every week you check over there about 2 hours before the after party, and there's going to be a little post that says, ask a question. And so this week, let's go ahead and, Ben, we're going to do your question first. So say who it is and then tell us what the question is from the community tab.
Wait, sorry. I lagged out. Can you repeat it?
Oh, we're going to let you go first. So whatever your question was from the community tab, read out who it is and what the question is, and we'll all talk about it.
Cool. Just putting it up now.
All right.
All right. My question is from Abby Patel. I think that's how you say the name. Do you think Ronnie and Eddie will be alive in present day post Armageddon? So that is our question. So this is obviously Flash specific.
Yeah. So this is because we know that he's going to be making an appearance or whatever later on. So they dropped a little, like a name drop of it during Armageddon, like of Eddie or whatever. So I think they're leading into something like that. I'm wondering if because we know that they said Armageddon parts of it would continue into the season. Yeah. Do you think, and I'm curious from both of you, because Ben, this was your choice of question. Do you think that it's not just post-crisis, that it's going to be post-Armageddon that we're going to see characters come back to life? What do you think?
Should I answer?
Yeah, go ahead. It's your question. You're good.
Okay. I'm going to say, yeah, there's definitely going to be some big consequences, because we've seen it with like Flash time. We always know if something's changed, they can never put it exactly back together. So, and Eric Wallace has said this has big consequences and it leads to other stories down the season. So I guess there is a chance that maybe Ronnie and Eddie are somehow alive. However, I'm going to say it's more likely that it's going to be like a time travel episode, because obviously we've been doing a bit of time travel right now, and I think it's leading into more time travel. And I'm not sure who the main villain is going to be of the season, but I presume it's somehow linked into time travel if we're doing more of that, like Bart and Nora are returning. Now Eddie and Ronnie are returning. So, and we've seen like from behind the scenes photos, there's like snippets or like newspapers and stuff and things on the walls that were like, oh, 2013, like when Barry was in a coma. So that kind of leads you to the idea that maybe we're going to revisit that time when he was just coming out of the coma. He's been struck by lightning, and maybe you're going to see like Eddie there.
So you're talking like way back to the start, like you're talking like season 1 like stuff or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
I think it's more likely it's going to be that when they show up. However, I do acknowledge the fact that this is post Armageddon and the timeline is going to have to be reset. So there's always a chance.
Khalif, get ready for
Ronnie and
Chronarch.
Eddie.
Get ready for Chronarch. Maybe that's happening.
Yeah, that's my answer.
So what about you, buddy? Do you think we're going to see like a change to the timeline, or do you think it's going to be time travel, or what do you think? Flashback? Like, what do you think is happening here?
Okay, so I think there's a way this could work if we just change reality. So whatever Barry does to fix Armageddon isn't necessarily another Flashpoint, but depending on how they go about this, when you have to re-enter Joe into the timeline for those 6 months, things are going to change. So let's just say, for the sake of this discussion, that when Joe comes back, other people come back. You know, it adds Ronnie. You know, that would connect to exactly what Caitlin said. You know, you add Eddie back in, that gives us, you know, what are they going to do, Cobalt Blue or whatever they're going to do, if we're eventually going to get that. I think that's the more interesting way to go about things. It reminds me of Arrow season 8, how they just bring back characters kind of every episode. We also had like Yao Fei and that magic thing with the, before Crisis. So that would be interesting to me. But I think I got to agree with Ben, though. I think it's going to be the time travel because that's like the thing that the Flash does. It's really fun. We haven't done it in a while. And why not bring these characters back for those certain moments? That way, you don't have to run into those situations where it's super convoluted. How are they here? Instead of like deleting the lore of the show, it's just doing what Ben said, basically.
All right. Yeah. All right. So let's move on to your question, buddy. If you have it pulled up, please read out the name and the question, if you could.
Yes, absolutely. My question comes from Levi Oliver, and they said, do you think that the increase of quality in the Armageddon crossover is going to carry over for the rest of the season, or are we expecting things to go downhill from here?
That's interesting. So that's a good question. I always try to err on the side of optimism when it comes to like the start of a season, which is why I typically don't like to score them too harshly in the first few episodes. So typically, if you go back and you watch most of my first like early season reviews, I'm typically very optimistic about it. And I would say my biggest difference right now when it comes to like prior seasons of the shows is that it's a 5-episode event at the start of a season,
right? Which
is something that we've never really had on the other shows. So I think that at the very least, and I'm not counting the interlude episodes because we're going to talk about that in a moment, I guess. At the very least, the actual graphic novels look promising this season. I think the concept of the graphic novels are going to work. If this is setting up, if things in this event are setting up the other graphic novels, I think we're looking for an exciting season. Looking forward to an exciting season of The Flash. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've said this many times to you, Eric, and I'm sure you guys have been listening in, but I'm definitely cautious, especially this year because of how good the first couple of episodes were last year. And then obviously we had the Forces storyline afterwards, so that was a big dip. And so obviously cautious because it is the same people who are doing this season. However, one can hope that they maybe learn from their mistakes. And, I can be optimistic about what's going to happen next because I think these first 3 episodes have been really solid. But I have to say, you're right, Eric. It's completely different from normal. It's a 5-part crossover event. Of course, they're going to think extra hard about everything that's going on because they have to condense it all into 5 episodes and be done. And obviously, with that, they can set up the potential for what's to come next. And I think that is actually one of the reasons why this season's going to be good. Okay. Because I think they've had time to properly think about this and the ramifications of it. Right. And I think you're going to get an interesting villain out of it, especially with the timeline changes for a show like The Flash.
So, cool. Yeah. So anything you want to add to that, buddy, and the question there?
Basically, I think Ben summed it up pretty perfectly. I was at the end of I was almost done with The Flash from last season. I wanted to give it up, and I'm hoping that they kind of got that message that people were ready to be done and that we need to step it up. We need to level up. And I hope we can keep that the rest of the season, but no, that's about it.
That's cool. Before we get into my question though, Robert did bring it up. So the one thing about StreamYard, and this is like you guys, I want the chat to know this, is typically when I'm running the show, I like to leave just the StreamYard chat up because it makes it really easy for me. So if I miss one of your like member chats, it's not because I'm ignoring it. It's because for some reason, StreamYard doesn't count that as a super chat, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
So Robert Blake posted a comment earlier. He says, I have 2 non-DC TV show pals into Stargirl, Superman, and Lois next. That is a good gateway series. I think Stargirl, definitely the level of quality, and Superman and Lois level of quality would be good to introduce some friends that are not into that normal like content. And let's see here. We have a comment from Cody, who's also a Team Eric member. He says, does Barry getting rid of Eobard change everything? I don't know. Cody, you've seen the pictures. I know you've seen the pictures. So we'll have to talk about that at the end. But yeah, I don't know. I think, like, Ben, we talked about so many theories in your stream, and after the pictures came out, I think some of the stuff we talked about has been confirmed. So that's why I want to save it till the end of the
Pretty
stream.
much.
So yeah. All right. So the last viewer question we're going to talk about is Laura. She goes, "Do you think Laura E actually? Do you think that Mary will stay Poison Ivy 2.0 or be a split personality and be out in the field with Batwoman next season?" And so I know, Ben, you're not watching Batwoman right now, so this will just be as for me and Buddy. So I don't know if this story is going to carry over into season 4 of Batwoman. And now maybe in season 3 we'll see the split personality, because I do think that's kind of the direction they're heading in. But I don't know about season 4. I'd be apprehensive to say that that's going to carry over into season 4. What about you, Buddy? Because I know you're also watching Batwoman as well.
As much as I might like that, to be honest with you, don't we have like another actor coming in to play Poison Ivy, like an official Poison Ivy?
Yeah, Reagan. Wait, Bridget Reagan, I think is her name.
Yeah,
Bridget Reagan.
So I'd have to say I don't think it will. But think about Roy from season 2 with the Mirakuru, how that kind of lasted. Even though he was out of his system, even though it was done, we still had to deal with those repercussions. Basically, the rest of the time we even see Roy up till season 8. He's still dealing with those consequences. I think that would be cool. I think that's a way to make it, Mary could be back to normal, but she's still dealing with stuff. I don't know. It'd be very interesting, though, if they kept that for season 4.
Okay, well, there we go. So now we're going to move on, and it's time to talk about The Flash Armageddon, episode 3. And some exciting pictures from episode 4 that I'm going to save till the end, because I think they're super spoilery if you haven't seen anything yet. So I want to give everybody an opportunity to do that. So here we are. Boom. Flash spoilers on the screen. So we're talking about Armageddon, which is season 8, episode 3. This is the middle of this 5-part event, crossover, whatever you want to call it. And we're finally getting a lot of answers, but we're getting answers, and we're also getting questions. So it's like this weird swinging door of things that it's happening on the show at the moment. Now, this episode wasn't a heavy action episode. This was an episode that is intended to build up for those last 2 big episodes in this event. I said episode like 20 times there. And I quite enjoyed it. I was telling Ben during his live stream that this was probably I think the way I ranked them was this was like right below episode 2, which was my favorite episode. I didn't dislike episode 1. I just think that this episode had a lot of strong points for some of the side characters and supporting characters. And of course, Black Lightning, which raised the score for me because I love Jefferson. I love Cress in that role. Let's start with you, Buddy. Just your general thoughts on this episode. I know you've got your review. We've all done our reviews of it, but I'm very curious, like, were you happy with what this episode delivered in terms of like this event right now?
I would say yes, and I think the ranking, I would rank them the exact same. I think 1 is the weakest, even though I love Brandon Routh. But I think this episode was really good. I felt like the pacing was just on point. Every scene I was in it. And in my review, I was a bit more positive about everything that was happening with Cecile in the top. I was a bit more positive about that. But I just recently watched the episode again right before this, and I understand those criticisms. So for me, it kind of did bring the episode down for me. But you know who brought it back? Jefferson. You're right. Yeah. Cress Williams. Every scene was just phenomenal. I wanted more of it, but then they only have him for like 3 days or something. So I was just happy with every scene we got. Overall, I was pretty impressed, especially with that cliffhanger.
What about you, Ben? I know that that you talked a little bit about it, but have you thought about it anymore? Do you like it worse, or do you like it more? Do you about the same? What are your thoughts on this episode this week?
Yeah, no, I still think this is my favorite so far.
Okay.
Like I said yesterday, I think what tops it is the ending, because it gets me extremely excited for this coming week. And with the photos, which we'll talk about in a minute, I'm like
it's like a race to get to those pictures because they're so exciting.
Yeah, like what's gonna happen next? Oh my god! Yeah. So that definitely tops it for me.
Tops.
And yeah, I have my totally on purpose.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the episode. I think the Cecile stuff, I have some nitpicks, which we talked about yesterday. But I really, really, really liked the Iris stuff here, because finally I feel like this is a story that she was supposed to have. And I know this story isn't going to go on all season, so Oh, I'm lagging. Some sort of equivalent to this for Iris to continue. But yeah, and then Barry and Jefferson was just so good. Like I loved all the scenes in the Hall of Justice.
That mentor energy we got from
it's
Jefferson was
definitely my
exactly
favorite
what
so
I
far.
wanted from him. So I was really, really excited about that.
I love the
almost
quote. I love the speech.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Well, when you talk about pep talks on the show, that's the kind of pep talk that I want because it felt real. It wasn't. It felt like there was like this punch to it that you don't normally get from the other characters that I really, really enjoyed from it. But Ben, you talked about Iris, so I want to talk about Iris first and get this out of the way here. For me on the show right now, Iris is absolutely hands down the best that her character has ever been in the Arrowverse for me, and that includes season 1. I think they have nailed her this season. Candace should be excited if this is the direction they're going to take her character, because I think it's a very strong place for her to be on the show. And that's why I said on Twitter that I was loving her story, because I feel like in a lot of ways it's got that Lois Lane energy from Superman and Lois, which I really, really enjoyed about it. It shows that she's independently doing things without worrying about the rest of the team. Her contributions to things like investigative journalism, following up on stories, asking questions to people, these are the things that she should be strongest at, and they're showcasing that as well. And it doesn't feel like it's taking away from anybody else's space on the show. It feels important to me. And so to me, this is the best she's ever been as an independent character, because my biggest complaint about Iris has been that it's always Westallen, that they're always looking for a Westallen moment from her. And I wanted her to feel like her own independent character. And I could not be any happier than where she is right now. I think this is absolutely perfect for Iris. And Buddy, since you did not join the stream with us yesterday, I'm curious about your thoughts on Iris. So can you go further in that? And are you enjoying Iris as much as I am? Because I really am having a good time with that character at the moment.
I am loving Candace Patton as Iris this season. I am just so happy. I can't believe how good it is. I mean, Candace Patton is great. We talked last season about, the her not wanting to be in Vancouver at the times and all that kind of like drama that was happening. This felt like she was there. She loved it and she was giving it her all. I just enjoy Iris being her own character. I think the format of the Central City Citizen now, while kind of fast because of the 6-month time jump, is so worth it. And you summed it up correctly, like perfectly. Superman and Lois energy. It's great. It's wonderful. I honestly now am more excited for those two to connect someday. I think Lois and have her on the podcast like Kramer. I think that would be great. It is a big step up.
Okay. And Ben, would you like to add anything to that? Any other thoughts on Iris this season?
No, I think you pretty much hit it. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like this is what she's meant to be, and I do like your idea of maybe them looking a little bit at Superman and Lois and being like, okay, maybe there is a way to have Iris just independently go off and do her own story, basically, and properly link it into journalism. Because we said this before, but over the years, they've kind of hinted at like her journalism as like a big thing in Central City. Like she's well known for it now, apparently. And I kind of believe it now, but I didn't.
Isn't it kind of wild how many characters are reporters? Like how many characters on the shows are reporters? It is a very common thing in, I guess, in comic books for characters to have reporting jobs, because it's like so just right now we had Kara, who was a reporter.
Yeah.
Nia was also working there. We have Lois, we had Clark, we have Iris. There's just a lot of reporting characters who are part of the shows. And I don't know if that's a comic book thing or what that is. It's a question for another time, probably. Mike here with the 49 Super Chat is watching Black Lightning on The Flash shows how nerfed he was on his own show. So I'm just going to say this. Black Lightning in the comics is pretty badass. And I think on the show, obviously, due to money and the way the show was structured, they didn't go over the top with him. But the fact that it shows he can go toe-to-toe with someone like Barry Allen just proves how strong of a character he is. And I really, really enjoyed that about him. And, before we move on, because we did talk a little bit about it, Cress Williams is one of my favorite actors in the Arrowverse. And, like, his scenes with Barry not only gave me like Joe vibes or like Harry Roll vibes or whatever. It's very much a different. It's crazy when you can take something that feels so similar, but is also very different from what you normally get. Because I love the chemistry between Jefferson and Barry. I think it was really strong, even when Barry did some stuff that didn't totally work for me. Which again didn't take away from the scenes. I think they're building into something. I think there's more questions to be answered, but it didn't for me. It was a lot of times where I feel like Cress was out acting Grant a bit in the scenes. And so, Ben, your initial thoughts on this? Did you enjoy these scenes? What did you think about it?
No, I love them. Literally everything with Cress was so good. You mentioned Joe and getting Joe vibes and some Wells vibes. It's totally true. Like, he's a great mentor for Barry, and I love that pairing that they found in Crisis, and they continued it because people liked it. And then we were like, "Can we have some more?" And they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna give you some more," which is nice. And yeah, I don't know. It was just something about it. And then I think the big moment for me was when Despero showed up, smacked back lightning, and then everything went down. Iris comes and she's like, "Barry's innocent. Let me prove why." And then they send him off. He's like, "I need power." He gets the extra steel force, and then he's like, "I'm gonna go to the future." And then you have Jefferson who's like, "Run, Barry, run!" And then you're like, "Oh." Yeah. He's turned into Wells. He's turned into Joe. He's turned into all these people who always Barry's mentors. Like Oliver says, "Run, Barry, run." All of them do it. And I think that solidified it for me.
I was going to say, like, it could be cringy, like We Are the Flash or any of the other leveled up. There's certain things that get old. I don't think Run, Barry, Run has ever gotten old to me because it started out organically. It was built by the fandom. Like, the fans were the ones that love that so much. So that's why they included it instead of them trying to create a trendy, buzzy phrase that needed to be said. Before I move to you, buddy, for a second, I do want to point out, I saw a comment from Bryce Cross that says Cress is so good and that he enjoyed the music discussion. The small scene where Barry and Jefferson talk about black music was amazing. And the one thing I loved about that was that tied to Joe. And it just reminded us how important Joe was to Barry as a father figure. And we weren't even like, we were processing the death of Joe, but we were still dealing with Barry trying to take away his powers. But then that scene happens and you're like, he's still thinking about Joe and all of this. Like, what a strong scene. What a great scene. And I knew the minute he put that music on, I was like, oh, this reminds me of Black Lightning, because Black Lightning had amazing music. It had an amazing soundtrack. But buddy, would you like to see Cress come back on the show after seeing him here, in this episode?
If we don't see Crest again, I probably will cry because you're setting the foundation, like Ben said, like you guys were talking about Crisis. We need all the breadcrumbs I can get of Crest and Grant all day. I need him to be on the show more. I'm not saying as a regular or on Team Flash, but just every time he's there, it's so special. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't help but just telling my brain, don't blink every time Crest is on screen because we need to endure all of this. Yeah, it's just great.
We have a chat here, or a super chat from Robert Blake here. He goes, "Love the show. Do you think they could use future events to bring in established heroes outside of the DC TV EU? Not just in here. Let's get it. Wait, not into just I'm here. Let's get to it. Who? I don't understand the back. Do you guys understand the back half of that?
It just means let's just get into it. Who could it be?
Okay. So you mean future events to bring in characters from like other shows or other movies or whatever? Like when we had Ezra crossover into the TV universe or whatever. Mm-hmm. They could. I don't know if they will, because that was a huge surprise. I think all of us, because I don't know about you, buddy, but I know Ben and Meiji, when we were talking about it then, that scene was so secretive when it happened. Yeah. My mind was blown in that crossover. My mind was legit blown in that. So I don't know if they'd be able to do it and get away with it, because that was kind of a one-off thing. I think anything else would probably be spoiled, honestly. Anybody in particular you would like to see crossover? I'd love to see like Jason Momoa, like Aquaman, come in, but that probably would never happen. But I think that would be kind of cool. Anyone? Maybe Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman would be kind of neat.
Oh,
Yes.
if we're going for movies,
If
absolutely,
Supergirl
I'd
was
love
still
that.
one.
Yeah, or maybe someone, maybe Nightwing from Titans. Like maybe have him on Batwoman.
Yeah, I'm gonna totally steal that from you and also agree. That's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's great. That would be wonderful.
Gwendolyn here with the 4.9 super chat goes, highlights of this episode are Barry and Jefferson. I will agree with that. The ending, just wow, unexpected. I will also agree with that. Joe being gone hurt, I figured, but to hear it, Lowe's were Cecile. I mean, I agree with everything you're saying, Gwendolyn. I absolutely agree with that. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and move into the low point of the episode for me, and then we'll talk about the ending. And that was the stuff with Cecile. I know that some people disagree with me. I've seen some reviews. I think I watched Paige's review, and he seemed to be like impressed with her her acting there. And I haven't had a chance to talk.
Paige likes everything.
So, well, I mean, is he in the chat?
He's a
Paige, are you
fanboy.
here? Can you talk more about that if he's in the chat? But yeah, I saw some other people impressed with it. For me, I was not. So I got very, and Ben, I told you I was going to talk a bit more about this today. And the reason why is I think that Danielle Nicolette, who plays Cecile, is typically a very good actor. I like the stuff that she does. I think in the stuff that I've seen her in, she's been very solid. The stuff that she was given when Joe was out, when Jesse hurt his back, was really solid. I don't know in this episode if the director was like, I want you to go to 1,000. Like, yeah, he was like, everyone else just act normal, and Cecile, I want you to act like beyond, like go over the top. Get it? Over the top, because the top is going to be on there or whatever. Matter of fact, Top also had that same energy, like Cecile and Top had that same energy of almost like they were acting in another scene in another show, and it took me out, and I was very, very, very disappointed in it. And one of the scenes that I absolutely loathed, that was probably the worst scene for me, was her conversation with Iris. I hated that scene. I think that scene was awful.
Yeah, that was.
Iris did nothing to deserve what Cecile was giving to her.
Mm-hmm.
And for Iris to be so calm and reserved and to just take all of that abuse when it's her father as well, I felt was just a weird juxtaposition between the two characters, because
it was way too prolonged.
Yeah, so I didn't feel exactly. And I felt it was a bit too much. Buddy, you said that you watched it again or you've looked back at it. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the Cecile stuff? I'm just curious because I know you're probably a little bit less harsh about it.
In my review, I was actually like giving her a lot of credit for a good amount of this, because there was a particular moment where they talked about the way they're doing the empath stuff is like she's getting all of the grief from everyone. And so for a little bit there, I was like, oh, that actually makes it a little bit better for me. But there was a moment like Ben was talking about, and there's just these overacting with the Top and then all this weird things. And it's that moment with Iris, or maybe it was with Caitlin in the gang. She said that she was like, she knew Barry more than everybody else. And I that took me out. The second time I was like, wait, what? You're telling Caitlin that you know Barry more? So then I started rewatching it. Yeah, it makes no sense. So then I'm rewatching it, and now those moments that I was like, oh, this is actually like good. Now I'm just kind of in the middle. I'm like, wait a minute, this is just a little bit too much for me.
I forgot about that moment. Does she actually say to Caitlin?
Yeah, she says that.
I know Barry better.
She's like, more than anyone. I think here or something like that. It was like after Iris left. I'm like, really?
Yeah, they wrote that line, and she said it on screen.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's like the icing on the cake for that scene, because
I would say
Caitlin
out of everyone there, she's probably in the middle of knowing Barry, because obviously Chester and Allegra don't know Barry that well, and then you have Caitlin and Iris who have known Barry forever,
a
pretty
long
much,
time.
And then you have Cecile. So she falls in the center. And I think they were trying to make the impression that her emotional abilities were why she knew Barry so well. Mm. But what an odd thing to say, because I don't think that knowing someone's emotional state necessarily means you know them better than someone else.
It's just weird things to say. Like, you say that to Caitlin, and then you go on and say, basically she's saying, oh, I know Joe and I feel for Joe much more than you, when she's literally talking to Iris. And Iris is just standing there. And then finally, when Iris says something, I literally remember when I was watching, I said this before, but I literally was like, thank God. I literally out loud said, thank God. Like, it was just, I don't know. There was just something about the scene. Yes, she was over the top. Like, she was like screaming, and, Iris was a bit like out of character. I think she shouldn't have taken that.
This is a reenactment of how that scene went down. Iris is like, so I have this information. I think that my dad might still be alive. What are you talking about? How dare you say that to me? That was a recreation of that scene. That was a recreation of that.
I know Joe better. I know Barry better.
She had it.
Screw you guys.
Right. Talking about that, Barry better. Then this is actually what Iris is saying is probably true. Then, if you know Barry, this stuff happens like way too often.
Well,
the timeline changes.
Someone brought up,
whatever.
So someone brought up that if Cecile's powers are lie detecting, then why didn't they have her talk to Barry to find out if he actually remembered anything that he did? Because she would have been able to tell if he was lying or not.
Is that a thing? Is that a thing? Did I forget?
No, she can lie detect. Yeah, that's part of her power.
I forgot. Good.
The other thing is, a lot of people, and I brought this up in Ben's stream, they were like, why would he go to Black Lightning to have his powers taken away when he has a Medicure locked up somewhere where he can just inject himself and take a Medicure? So there were little things that were dropped within the episode. And I will say this, the idea of him getting the Injustice Protocol for Black Lightning to take away his powers, I was annoyed by that. I understood why they were doing it, but I was still annoyed by it. I also understood that in order to get Jefferson on the show and to make Black Lightning make sense, the Medicure was not going to be brought up. That's the reality of it. But then you also have to assume that Cecile forgets that she has a lie detection power, which is also another issue or whatever. The other thing with Cecile that bothered me, and I'm going to read Mike Glenn's super chat, and then we're going to go into that. 49 super chat, he goes, agree with Cecile being at a low point, was glad when I said he was my father, wanted her to say, shut up, he is my father. She was annoying in this episode, and she kind of was. And the other thing that she did that kind of bugged me was she was able to stop Despero from attacking her.
Yeah.
And even though I know that she has control over her emotional powers, and I'm not disputing that maybe she has powers that way or whatever, but she defeated Despero in a mental battle, which diminishes his powers a lot, in my opinion. And I'm like, not only is he a telepath, but she is an empath. So even if she does have telepathy, it's not at the same level as like Despero. And at this point, Top was knocked out. They thought she was dead. So it was just Cecile. I put this up on the screen earlier. Paige says his comment was he loves Cecile in the episode, had no clue people disliked her until I saw Eric's review. I kind of knew people weren't going to like it, but that's because I'm so negative, Paige. That's why I'm always negative. All right, so let's talk a little bit about, is there anything else that you guys want to talk from like the mid-story part? Because I kind of want to jump to the end of it and talk about that.
No, we can jump to the end, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So Paige goes, Cecile let Despero beat him so he could access her mind and know that Top saw in regards to Barry's location pretty much said straight after it happens. Yeah, it still diminishes his power to me.
Anyway, but can you explain what the heat vision was? I don't know.
It was
like this. Sorry, go ahead.
I think it was just emotional, like the emotional spectrum, right? I mean, I think that's what it was. Mm-hmm. Why it came out of her eyes, I don't know.
But this is what I'm saying. Like, I don't think they've actually ever established what Cecile's actual powers are. They change depending on what the plot needs, right?
Yeah.
What the characters
right. Need. Yeah, pretty much. So to dive into Paige's comment about Despero and the explanation or whatever, if Despero has the ability to time travel, why would Barry running to 2031 prevent him from following him? Like, I mean, he's obviously got the ability to time travel.
Why didn't Despero go when he was in a coma? We said.
Or why didn't Despero could have literally attacked him at any other time? Why did he wait till 2021? And why did Barry wait till 2031 to actually do what he did?
Yeah,
there's a lot of unanswered questions, obviously. Mike Glenn with the 1-9 super chat. Was it Despero or a mental projection? It was like his telepathic powers, basically invading her mind. Think of like I don't know, is there a character I could think of that's like probably close to this? Like a non-DC character would be like Professor X or something, like being able to project yourself into someone's mind or whatever is probably closest to that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Barry gets away. We have obviously Jefferson talks him through this and gives him a great speech, by the way, which reminds him, of how he should live his life and do whatever he can. And so Dion is there with Iris because Iris has used her time sickness that is now not. I don't. So the time sickness thing was a little unexplained, I guess. So he had been giving her treatments of something to prevent her from like displacing in time, so she could see like the variations from using the Sage Force, or I mean the Still Force. And so he takes that away, and she notices this is going on. And I didn't think we were going to get this much about her time sickness in the crossover, because I do remember Eric Wallace saying that we would tackle it during the season, but not so much during the crossover. So I thought that was a little odd. Anyway, it was fine. I didn't have a problem with this. So because of this, you know, Dion's there, and he gives Barry a boost of power, because Barry, from fighting Black Lightning and having his powers like sort of weakened, he couldn't time travel. So he needed a boost from Dion. By the way, how many people in the chat, and even between you and Buddy and Ben here, I wanted to see Dion fight Despero. He could have just like made him stop. He could have been like, boom.
I didn't think of that.
I didn't either.
But yeah,
He says he's a literal god, so I mean, he should be able to just like. And Despero's powers shouldn't work on Dion, because Dion's not even really a person anymore. He's just a energy being. So
fair enough.
It's pure energy, man.
I don't like when I think of things like that. It makes me feel icky.
Eric's just thinking of all the plot holes.
I know.
I mean, Jefferson said he's got it. He says, I got him.
And he did a good job. So, I mean, there's that.
Dion was just like, oh, okay, you got it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of the questions that I have, like somebody in the chat was talking about this or whatever. I think there's a lot of things that look like plot holes now that may get answered. So I'm not going to say that everything is necessarily a plot hole. But I think things specific to the episode, like Dion not stopping Despero, to me, that's an unanswered plot hole, because I don't understand why he wouldn't do that. But there's that. So anyway, Barry runs to the future, 2031. Here we go. And they get you a party at a restaurant that's been reserved. And Barry walks into the restaurant, and there is a bunch of characters there from various Arrowverse shows, the ones that we knew were going to be in the crossover. And up on the stage, we see Welzabard. And he's giving the speech. And I'm like, okay, so this feels like a wedding thing, or like a reception to a wedding or something like that.
Yeah.
But that can't be what's going on, because what in the world is happening? And we noticed that Barry's not there with them. And help me remember who was there. So we had Alex.
Mm-hmm.
We
Ryan
had
Choi.
Ryan Wilder, Ryan Choi,
Chester.
Ryan Choi's partner, I guess. Is that who that was? I don't know who that
Yeah, there was a
character
random
was.
guy in the back.
Okay, we don't know who that is, right? I don't think I've ever seen him before. Chester, Allegra, and Cecile.
And Chester had the funky haircut because
His hair was really cool there, right? But noticeably missing for me was obviously Caitlin. Caitlin and Killer Frost were not there.
Yeah.
She dead?
And we don't know. We're not sure. But I also was like, where's Kara at? Because they might be off world in 2021.
And John.
Surely they weren't off. Yeah, and John, they weren't off world, you know, at that point. Plus, by the way, are you telling me that in 10 years' time they didn't meet any other characters that would have been friends of theirs that would have shown up at this little party? I'm just saying.
We have one guy in the background. So.
We do.
Yeah. They all left conveniently right before Barry showed up.
Yeah. So either way, though, the crazy thing is that you know, Iris goes up on stage, and at this point they haven't seen Barry in the room, right? And at this point, I'm like, what is she gonna say? Is this a eulogy for Barry? Like, what is this we're dealing with here? And Eobard starts talking about the love of his life, Iris West, and I think he just calls her Iris West, not Iris Westallen, right? Right?
Yeah, it's just West.
Okay. And they're a couple in 2031.
What? Creepy.
What?
Mr. Steal Your Go. That's what they said yesterday.
That's what they said yesterday, right? So I was like, what is going on here? And then we get this moment where they're like, what is he doing here? And everybody kind of turns around and gives him like the stink eye or whatever. And it's like, at that point, I'm like, are they seeing Barry, or are they seeing someone else? And so we were kind of thinking, because a lot of people were like, isn't it kind of creepy that Eobard's like in his 50s and Iris is in her 30s? And I'm like, it's not creepy to me, but it is a little unusual, I guess, in the terms of the show. But the fact is that I thought that obviously Eobard is either mind controlled them, change time so that they think that he is Barry Allen, or he looks like Barry Allen to them. Those are my three things with the ending of the episode. I want to know, before we get into these pictures, because we're going to talk about them in just a moment, what was your reaction to this ending? And Buddy, I want you to go first. What was your reaction?
Well, whenever Barry showed up the first time, I'm like, okay, whatever's about to happen is about to be super cool. So I was like prepping for it. I was like, okay, what is it? Is it Reverse Flash? What is it? And when I did my trailer breakdown for Armageddon, I was like, oh, Timeless Wells is the one telling that speech. It's Timeless Wells, whatever. The fact that it's Eobard, I literally was like, this man is the most petty man on earth. And I started getting flashbacks to season 7 where he's just whining about being beaten. I'm like, he really went to go steal Barry's job, his base of operations, his mind going insane.
Kill his mother, frame his father. Like, this guy is done.
Steal his wife. Steal his kids.
Killing his wife was so season 3. So he has to, I was just shocked. I was...
Steal the identity of his mentor with Wells, like just everything.
Yeah.
Like,
steal his costume.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah,
so,
everything.
What about you, Ben? What were your thoughts with this ending? Were you like gobsmacked, or what was?
Yeah, I was. I mean, like, obviously, as soon as Barry said, "I'm going to the future," and then you see 2031 pop up, you're like, I was the exact same as Buddy. I was like, okay, something's about to go down, something cool, and it's going to be Reverse Flash related. And then when I heard his voice, I was like, oh shit, now what's happening here? And then bit by bit, as soon as like Ryan Wilder turns around and she's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I know exactly what's going on here. This is okay. I'm not 100% sure, but in my mind, I was like, okay, this is definitely, he's stolen his life. He has switched. He is Barry Allen and he is the Flash. But and that's why you see, that's why they look at Barry like he's like Reverse Flash. It's how they would normally look at Reverse Flash if you walk into the room, right? You're like, what are you doing here? And then they proceed to attack him, which is probably going to happen at the start of this episode. Though, like, I mean, Iris even holds a gun to Barry.
Yeah.
It was completely shocking.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have a super chat here from Naruto, $5 super chat. He goes, what do you think about the Flash episode 5 synopsis? Do you think it's really hinting at the end of the Reverse Flash story or the end of Tom's time in the role? So without looking at these pictures, I don't know how to answer this because I want to wait till we get to that. But I will say I don't think Tom is completely gone, but I think that this may wrap up this thread of that story. And so we may see Reverse Flash again, but it may not be Tom anymore after this. Like, we may see another version of the Reverse Flash. And I'm sad about it, but I'm also excited to see what direction they take the story. Do you guys feel the same way, that this may just be a wrap up for a section of this? And because I don't think the Reverse Flash is gone completely ever from the show, personally. Thoughts? Either one of you?
I think we've all kind of collectively agreed, if this goes to season 10, that season 10's villain to wrap up the 2024 needs to be Reverse Flash. Yeah. I think we've all kind of collectively said this is what we need. So then we also have these pictures. I think this makes perfect sense to wrap up this version, because I think we'd all like to see the younger version of Eobard in the beginning of his, everything. Fight Barry for that first time, go back to the house. I feel like if we keep this thread alive and well, we can't do that naturally, because then there would just be two versions of Eobard the audience has to remember. And that's already hard enough for, with Matt Lencher and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I think it makes sense to cut it here.
Okay. What about you, Ben? Do you think we've seen the last of Reverse Flash at the end of Armageddon, or no?
I find it hard to believe that we're going to see the end of him, because he always comes back. But this definitely feels like one of his biggest, like, definitive moments that could be an ending. It feels like literally Eobard has achieved everything he's wanted to.
Right.
And it feels like it's full circle. It feels like this is what the Crisis newspaper was talking about. It feels like this is going to be maybe the night Reverse Flash and Barry go back in time. Barry's got the gold boots and everything.
So that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
I think at the end of this, they might go back in time, reset the timeline, and that's where Eobard's story goes round, and he's just stuck in a loop.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. That's really cool.
That would be very cool. Cody with the $5 super chat. So were the negative forces activated when the positive forces were born, or did Ebod gain them when he was revived? I think it happened when they were born. I would believe that if there's a positive speed force and the negative speed force, and they've always coexisted, then I think when the other forces were activated, they also created their negative versions. That's my
But
personal
remember-
feeling. Well,
Was
go
the
ahead.
Reverse Flash the one to create the negative speed force?
Yeah, he was, but once it's created, it's forever. That's the thing, is like they
Okay.
run parallel to each other. So it is possible that he did create them, but without Iris as an anchor, I don't know how he would have done it. So
Yeah.
I would just assume that maybe he had something to do with it somehow. Like maybe he knew it was going to happen, or
He creates the
know.
negative speed force in this episode because Iris is his wife. Boom.
oh, maybe.
I like
Okay.
that idea.
This is interesting
No,
though.
let's do it.
Wait, I don't want to talk about this yet until we look at the pictures. There was something I was going to say, but I'm going to wait till that we pull the pictures up. Mike Glenn here with a $4.99 super chat. There are two comic storylines where the Reverse Flash tries to marry or steal Iris from the Flash. Yeah, this is very comic book to me, but it is super petty, right? It is. I feel
Yeah,
like it is.
it's the most petty he can be. Like,
Yeah.
and steal your life and everything, steal your superhero costume, steal your persona, but now I'm gonna steal your freaking wife.
That's the ultimate disrespect. So Robert Blake here with the $2 super chat. 15th, I watch 5/5 Flash, 5/6 Hawkeye, and Spider-Man. Wait, 15th I watch. Oh, you're talking about the end that week. We'll have the 5th episode of Flash. We'll have the 5th episode of Hawkeye, and Spider-Man comes out on that week. So yeah, that's gonna be a big week. Super exciting. Thank you for the super chat. Stagger War. As soon as we get through the super chats, we're gonna look at these pictures because I'm excited to talk about them. 499 super chat. I think a version of the Reverse Flash we could see as a DH version of Eobard in his original form. I actually wouldn't mind that, but I think that they may play around with him looking like Barry Allen. That's what I think we might see moving forward based on what I'm seeing in photos. So any thoughts on that, guys? I don't want to skip over you if you have any opinion about that, or no. All right. Stagger played by a different actor, of course. Actually, I think it would be cheaper and easier for them to just have Grant play Reverse Flash, to be honest, because then they would just have a stunt person do all the scenes where he's not showing his face. So There we go. All right, so warning, huge spoiler alert. If you have not seen the promo, if you've not seen the pictures, if you've not been spoiled by anything from the behind the scenes photos, these next photos we're going to look at, I've got 4 of them pulled up, are going to be huge for the next episode. This is your final warning for that, right?
Can I just say that I'm actually very surprised that they released them. I know we know it's coming because we are in the know, but no one else knew this was coming, right?
Yeah.
I'm very surprised. But...
Well, you mean like the general public, right? Like
yeah,
the general
public.
public. All right. Here we go. I've got these in a certain order because I want to talk about them in the order that I have them in. So first, we have the Reverse Flash Barry Allen with a tachyon device of some type, and Damian Dark is back. And we have a better shot of the suit here in a moment with the cowl on and everything. This is like the perfect blend for me of the modern Flash suit and the Reverse Flash suit from like back in season 1 because of the shoulders and everything. And you can see there's details as well that are really, really good. I love this color profile, and seeing the Reverse Flash suit in this particular fabric makes me so excited. And this looks like Damian Dark from Arrow to me. It doesn't look like the Legends of Tomorrow Damian Dark, which I know they're one and the same, but they're not really the same character.
Yeah.
Initial thoughts, Ben or Buddy, like go ahead and give us your thoughts there.
I saw the photo and I was like, what the because I knew it was coming, but like the suit looks different than I even thought. And I think it looks so cool. And it's a great upgrade because it doesn't look like the Reverse Flash suit. It has the color scheme, and even the color is different, by the way.
Because Reverse Flash suit, it starts in the middle to like fade into black, so it's like the top is yellow and the bottom is black.
But this is like fully different, and I love the details on the arms and the legs because it just looks completely different. And I
think it pops because of the color, right? Because it's the yellow with the red over it instead of the other way around.
And then the logo, it looks like it's all black. It looks really cool. I think it really I think the color scheme is what works. Rather than the yellow and the red, I think the yellow and the black is even more distinctive.
Hmm.
It looks
Right.
great. And
Matter of fact,
yeah, I
let's
was
go ahead.
completely
Let's move
shocked.
to the other photo while we talk about this. So this is the one with the cowl on.
I think
Look
this
at
is the best
look
look
at
of the
this
color.
picture. Oh my god, the shoulders look so cool. And the thing is, like, and when we move to the next set of photos, you'll be able to see it. Like the way the chest is made with that almost like arrow down into the bodice and then down into
Yeah.
the abs area. That streamlines the suit so much. And I kind of wish the red suit had that on it.
Yeah, me too.
But it's kind of unique. So, buddy, your thoughts on this? Because now Ben's had his thoughts. So
I love it. I mean, we've used that same reverse flash suit since what, episode 1, episode 8, where we first saw it. You know, outside of the CGI model. I mean, this is incredible. I absolutely love this thing. You guys are right on it, man. The textures, love the shoulders, the color itself. I mean, I'm just shocked. I couldn't believe we saw it. It makes sense for the crossover and, of course, the pictures we saw before Armageddon. But it is kind of crazy that we're not seeing Eobard in the suit for the first time. It's Barry, or you know, and that just makes it, I don't know, somehow better for me, kind of. Because I'm like, oh, Barry has to wear this suit, and it's like, it's just wonderful.
So Mike Glenn here says, the Barry need the tachyon device because Black Lightning drained his powers. That's my theory, is that he does. Or even crazier, I think, is that maybe Barry is using the negative speed force because he is technically the reverse flash, which would make him slower because the negative speed force hasn't leveled up like his speed force has. So there's that. There's also a comment here. Where's it at? I don't see it now. Where did it go? Oh, it was a super chat. There it is. Anthony with the $2 super chat. Do you think we'll get old man Barry Allen? I think at some point we will. I mean, I think they'll definitely give us that character, like from the comics, because old man Barry was pretty dope in the comics.
Yeah.
I think they will give us that at some point, but I think that's something for the final season, right? I wouldn't expect to see that before the final season.
Also, Eric.
Yeah.
Question. I don't know if you were going to hit on this or not, but what do you think the reason is why Barry actually puts on the suit? Yes, he is reverse flash. You know, they've potentially switched lives, right? Mm-hmm. But he has to actively put it on. Do you think it's going to help him with, you know, taking him down? Does he need to hide his identity? How does he find the suit?
I think that his flash ring will just have the yellow suit in it. That's what I think.
Because he went through the portal wearing the suit and came out in normal clothes, right?
Yeah,
he didn't come back in the suit, so
I think he was in normal clothes when he walked into the actual party, right?
Yeah, he wore regular clothes. So no, he did. No, he had the suit on when he came out of the portal because we got that trailer shot again, and I remember.
But then he went into the party in normal clothes, right?
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. That's weird, right? So he did.
Do you think he's gonna find like Reverse Flash's lair or something?
So I think actually he probably took the suit off, like the nanite suit or whatever, and then when he goes to put it back on, it's just gonna be this suit. I think that's what's gonna happen. I think so.
That's so interesting.
Look, Cody says, the coolest thing is we're going to be seeing these suits with the opposite speed trails. Speaking of that, we have Eobard Thawne, Tom Cavanaugh, in the actual Flash suit. So he has effectively either changed their perception of him or he has literally swapped places with Barry Allen. That's the only two options at this point.
Yeah. It's crazy. I think, you know what? I was shocked by the first thing, seeing the suit, but then I was maybe even more shocked. You know, there's that photo with both of them in it.
Yeah, we'll look at that one in just a second.
Side by side.
Matter of fact, let's go ahead and put that up. I've got that on here as my last photo there. That one right there.
Yeah, this one.
I'll actually take down the flash spoiler so we can see the whole thing.
Seeing them side by side, I was just like, mind blown. Mind blown.
Not only that, but has Tom been working out? What is going on in this suit?
Yeah, he looked dense.
I was like, okay, so I know that Grant had been working out, but like, geez, Tom looks like that's like the comic book Barry Allen. That's what that looks like to me.
Mm-hmm.
That
he
shot.
looks great.
This is the money shot, everyone. Right here, we have Eobard staring Barry down, dressed as a Reverse Flash, and you can see the look on Barry's face. He doesn't know what the fuck is going on. He is like, what are you doing in my suit? Why does my suit look like this? How did I become the Reverse Flash? What have you done with my life? And here you can see what I was talking about. The piping on the Reverse Flash suit is actually a little bit more pronounced than it is on the red suit. And I like the way that looks. And shoulders have those classic Reverse Flash shoulders from the first costume, but done in a modern way. And I love the cowl. Like the red ears on that yellow cowl look absolutely fantastic. When I saw this picture, I was like, holy shit. This is one of the freakiest things I've ever seen since we started watching the show.
So freaky. You know what? What Tom's doing, like his actual pose and the way he's kind of looking at Grant, well, obviously Barry, it kind of reminds me, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but have you seen the Flashpoint animated film?
Oh,
you know when he shows up at the end and he's just there like talking and kind of smiling, like smirking. That's what it reminds me. It's like he's like here.
He's like, look what you've done, Barry. Look what this is all your fault. Like that's basically what he says at the end of it.
I hope we get a speech similar to that. I know it doesn't necessarily make sense, but I need Tom Cavanaugh to just give me a giant dialogue while wearing the suit.
I am so shocked at how good this looks. And I'll say this again. I am extremely happy with the direction of the show right now, like this Armageddon story, even with all the little questions that I haven't had answered and some of the little plot holes or whatever. At the end of the day, what I've said about all these shows for me personally is I want to be entertained. And as long as I am entertained, I'm willing to overlook some of the little issues with the storytelling at the end of the day. And for me, this story has been so good and so well crafted, with the exception of Cecile, which is clearly the weakest part of the story, in my opinion.
Right.
Everything else has been so good. This shot, this picture right here is a 10 out of 10 for me. If this were a movie, I would be buying tickets early. I would be in the front row, and we get it for free. We get to watch it for free, which is absolutely
the Flash
amazing.
film better be this cool, right?
Now all the pressure's on.
Oh, like look at Tom's face in the shot and look at Grant's face.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
So good. They should just hire Tom for the film. Like,
yeah.
Hopefully they did.
Oh man, you're getting me so much more hyped now. Like I was hyped, but now I'm just like, this is incredible. This is just
This for me, and the reason why we talked about the question earlier about seeing Reverse Flash again, and this is where we're going to wrap it up, guys. This is the 5-minute warning before the end of the show. We started a little late, but I want to end in about 5 minutes. But we talked about whether or not this was going to be the end of Tom's Reverse Flash and whether or not that was going to wrap up the story. And I wanted to save it for this photo because I do have some thoughts on it. This suit right here was specifically made, it looks like, for Grant Gustin, just like his suit is. Did they make that Flash suit for Tom, or is that just Grant's suit?
It doesn't look like Grant's. Like that's bigger. He's big. He's pretty strong. It looks like.
So
did they do that for Steven for the Elseworlds crossover?
No, I think Steven was wearing.
You could
Grant's
tell
suit.
It looked weird on.
Yeah,
Steven.
yeah. This looks much better.
This looks like it fits.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you how excited I am that this means we're gonna get, I think, a young Reverse Flash.
Yeah.
That's what I think we're leading into, is seeing the origins of that character. I would love a maybe 2-part episode where we talk about like just him. Like we could have Grant portraying a young Eobard in the future and how he becomes the Reverse Flash. Like we could totally do something like that. I am so excited. In the chat before we go, I want to know, you know what? Fuck it. Score this picture. I want you to tell me what your score of this photo is out of 10. That's what I want to know. Because for me, this picture, everything about this photo is a 10 out of 10 for me, easily. Even the coloring in that restaurant with that art on the wall with the red and the yellow in the background, it's like perfection. I have to give it up to them. This is amazing to me.
Yeah.
So how hyped are you guys now for this next episode? Because I think this next episode is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm beyond excited. I got to give it a 1 out of 10 because it's the reverse of 10. Okay, no, because of the reverse of 10.
All right.
It's only for the pun. I promise it's a 10. It's brilliant. Yeah, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Ben, you're excited too? Are you going to fall asleep on this one? Or are you going to forget about this one and sleep through it or not?
No, I'm definitely not. Like, there's no way. Like, if I sleep through this, I'm gonna like, I don't know what I'm gonna do if I sleep through it. I'm gonna just give up.
This is amazing. I just really is. All right, so that's it. We are going to wrap everything up. Thank you guys so much for being here. Sorry we started a little late, but we're going to end on time, so that's what we're doing now. Anyway, thank you guys again for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Buddy, for being here for the first time on the after party. Hopefully we'll have you back soon.
Yes,
join
I
us
hope
again.
so. Thank you for having me.
And Ben, thank you so much for being here as usual. And you're probably going to go to bed, so there's that. Anyway, you can check Buddy out. His channel here on YouTube is Tactless Rhyme, all together, one word. It will be in the info box after we stream. I'll link it there. And Ben is obviously a leveled up Pagey again. So you can check him out on his channel, leveled up Pagey, again, and check out all of his videos over there. So what is happening in your world over there? Did somebody just come through a speed portal or something? I don't know.
That might have been Reverse Flash. I don't know, but my light is telling me that we're done here. So
yeah, that's it. We are out. So thank you guys so much for being here. We will see you next week where we'll be talking about episode 4 of Armageddon. So
adios.
bye.